Hey, Monica, did you know it's now even easier to listen to Round the Hay Bale podcast?
What? Really? How easy?
That's right. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play Round the Hay Bale podcast.
Playing Round the Hay Bale podcast on Apple Music.
Ooh, we fancy. Tune in to Round the Hay Bale every Monday at 9 a.m. Central.
Round the Hay Bale is brought to you by...
With gardening season in full bloom, Cayce certified organic products are just what your garden needs.
From fertilizing your orchards to feeding your soil, Cayce's calcium-based fertilizer gives your plants the essential minerals they need to thrive.
Applying Cayce to agricultural soils and waters has been proven to increase plant and crop yields while making vegetables and grains healthier and more nutritious.
In addition, Cayce can help restore the nutrient balance in animals when they're fed plants grown using Cayce in both soil and water.
To check out all of Cayce's organic products, visit cayce.com and use our promo code HeyBale for 10% off of your purchase.
Grab a cup of joe and gather round the hay bale with your hosts, Alicia from Country Mama Musings, Cayce from Ormsby Farms, and Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch. Now, here they are. Hey, y'all. Hey.
Hey y'all, hey, this is Alicia with Round the Hay Bale. You're joining us for part 2 of an episode that we were having with Ann Dale from Ann Dale Homestead here on season 4 of Round the Hay Bale. So again, I'm Alicia. Welcome back for this titillating season 4 episode. Since Cayce was talking about his bits being nibbled, we're going to move on. Who else do we have in our show today?
Well, hello. It's
I couldn't help it. We're unscripted, friends. We're unscripted.
Okay. I'm sorry. Hi, I'm Monica. Welcome back.
Y'all, one of these episodes, I promise listeners, we will have a clean opening and introduce all of ourselves professionally. But since I ended our last
I want to
episode,
say I did not bring the word nibble into this conversation or bits. That was not me. I'm just rolling with it.
Well, I just have to say that I'm Cayce, hello, and I was the nibbler, but I only was nibbling because we were talking about chips in a half-a-gallon mason jar. So welcome back. I want to welcome back Ann Dale to the podcast. She is stuck around and stuck with the three of us for these past 2 episodes.
Yay!
So welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm having a blast. I really appreciate you guys.
So on this episode of the podcast, we're still talking about pantry prepping. And one thing that I wanted to really talk about, and we've talked about it before on our podcast, is freeze-dried foods. Now, before we started shooting this episode, all of us have said how we all want a freeze dryer. And Harvest Right, if you're listening, we all want one. We'll test it out for you. Just send us one with a nice little bow. But until then, I have learned about Augustin Farms, and I buy the number 10 cans of freeze-dried stuff, and I have it in my pantry. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to play Alicia on this episode and get the round table going, and start with Alicia and say, Alicia, what is your must-have freeze-dried food that you have in your pantry?
My goodness, where to start? Because I myself have become a fiend of freeze-dried items. I love Augustin Farms as well. But I'm going to speak about something that I think the rest of my co-hosts here today and our special guest are not going to hit on. So I want to hit the part of our listening audience that might not think this way. Can you hear my husband call our dog in the background? That's so distracting to me. Thank goodness everybody can't hear it. Anyways, I really like reaching out to the companies that offer freeze-dried meats or meat substitutes, because I really like having those in my pantry. I like having the textured vegetable proteins. I get them in taco meat, regular ground beef meat. But again, they're textured vegetable protein. It's not real meat because I'm a vegetarian. I have ham bits. I have chicken bits. I have just about anything that I can think of that I can then add to my freeze-dried meals in a jar. But I've got the meats available to me. It's just in the one jar, pour it out, add water, and I can cook something to eat. So there are those companies out there where you can get the freeze-dried meat substitutes, and I'm sure some of my other hosts will pick on some other meat substitutes or meat itself that has been freeze-dried that you can utilize in your pantry. But once you have that available to you and you can, use your food saver to make sure that you remove the excess moisture and air out of your storage containers, I have stuff, I've barely even put a dent in some of my stuff. And I've got bags and bags and boxes and boxes and bottles of meat that's going to last me years. And the shelf life is, 20, 25 years on these things. So I really love having the substitute meat products. And it's not going to go as bad as quickly either as the actual freeze-dried meat when you reconstitute it. So that's my go-to. Is that kind of what you were looking for, Cayce?
Yes, that is. And so I'm going to pass that same question of your go-to freeze-dried item to Monica. What are you a freeze-dried stalker?
So I haven't used my freeze-dried stuff as much. I do have a bunch of stuff that I've bought. The one thing that I have purchased the most that I keep is the powdered milk, because I know that I can use that in other items. For instance, if I have the powdered milk or the milk substitute, no, it's not the substitute, it's just powdered milk. I know that I can use powdered milk in some of my recipes, like if I'm making my own homemade ranch dip. So I know that I can make like my homemade ranch seasoning, like instead of buying the brand name seasoning, I can make my own, and it calls for milk powder. And for years I wasn't making it with the milk powder because I have a kid that has a dairy sensitivity, but I know that I can have that as an option if I need it. So I buy the like August and Farms or some of the other brands milk powder. If I crack it open, I will reseal it into mason jars so that I have it long term. But that's one of the things I have stocked up on, and I've had several of them so that I can keep those in the number 10 cans. I have them available for emergencies.
And Monica and I both know of a great... Sorry, let me get right up against my mic. Monica and I have a great freeze-dried item that we love to have in our pantry, and it's in the dairy family. And I'm going to watch Monica's eyeballs explode when I say Big Daddy Mac.
Yes.
If you don't have the freeze-dried, look, her eyeballs are she is a gasp.
It is true.
Isn't it?
It is true. It is the Big Daddy mac and cheese mix. My boy, my 9-year-old.
I've never heard of it.
Cayce, you need it immediately.
Change your life.
I will send you a link that you can turn into your own affiliate link that you can buy on your own stuff. But here's what I need. Here's what I need you to understand. Like, like when you buy the store-bought mac and cheese, right? The little, not the Velveeta stuff that's all creamy, okay? But the dried stuff, right? So we buy the dried stuff. Yeah, my kids eat mac and cheese, okay? My 9-year-old can literally make his own pot of mac and cheese. My kids are self-sufficient, very much so. He will say, Mom, I need to make some mac and cheese. And I'll say, let's start. So I start the pot for him and I work that out. Once I get to the point where the noodles and the eye of the stove is off, the 9-year-old will then take over and the child will go get the container of the Big Daddy mac and cheese mix. It's a powdered cheese substitute. Basically, it's the stuff that they put in your boxed mac and cheese. It is so good. He levels up his craft with an extra scoop of this mac sauce. I'm telling you, it's probably like literally the worst thing for him in the entire world, but he's a little peanut, so it's fine. He loves it. And he's always like, thanks, Mom, for letting me add more cheese. He loves the powdered stuff. He doesn't want me to add fresh cheese. He wants the powdered stuff. It makes it creamy and he loves it. Yes, Alicia, I forgot about that. And we use it all the time. I mean, we probably use it more than we should because my children love mac and cheese, but at least once a week that stuff is out. And
it is a game changer. It takes your mac and cheese, your regular mac and cheese, to just like, meh, okay, we're having mac and cheese, to like, mac and cheese, this is so good.
Yeah, if you're gonna make a boxed mac and cheese, or you're gonna make your own, it is really good. It's so good. I
That-
can't even say it.
And it's good for making your other meals in a jar, like the funeral potatoes or the
Yeah.
funeral potatoes and ham, or
So you
anything
use
like
the Mac
that.
Daddy instead of the Augustin cheese blend, friend?
Yes, sir, I do.
I don't even know what the Augustin cheese blend is. I
Oh,
just know
it's
about
so
the Mac
good.
Daddy.
I was going to talk
It's
about the
Hoosier. I
cheese
think it's
blend.
no, I think it's Hoosier Hill Farms. I think is what it is. It's like Hill Farm. I think makes the Big Mac
Oh, so
Mac
It is.
Daddy.
And our poor guest, Andale, she's like ping-ponging back and forth watching.
No,
I
no,
know,
no.
ding, ding, ding,
I'm
ding,
learning.
ding.
I'm taking all this in. I'm taking it
Now,
all in. I promise.
And Dale, do your
Good.
grandkids drink chocolate milk? Where I'm going to do a questionnaire for you.
They do. They do.
Okay.
Most of them do.
So there is a chocolate milk powder from Augustin Farm that is so amazing. It's not only because, listen, I'm 36 and I like chocolate milk, okay? I'm not going to be ashamed. And you can use the same chocolate milk powder as brownie mix. You add it to flowers and it's
Ooh.
brownies. Alicia uses it in other ways. But this chocolate milk powder, Andel, is probably the best thing, I think, because I think grandmother, I think chocolate milk, having a
Yeah,
nice cold
okay.
glass
Well,
of
I'll have to
chocolate
check
milk.
into that.
Now, do you have freeze dried products in your pantry?
I don't have freeze dried products. I really don't. They're a little pricey for us, actually, but I certainly hope to be able to get to that point where we're able to have some. And where we are is, well, you're rural as well, Cayce, but to get one of those bulk shipment things that you have to go to the truck to go pick it up,
Azure standards.
the closest one is like 3 hours away. So there's none of that here. I mean, I have a lot of dehydrated things on the shelf, but not freeze dried. But I love hearing about it. I mean, you guys, I just love hearing about it.
If you use the Hoosier Hills or the Augustin Farms, it can be delivered right to your door. You don't have to set up a delivery like you do with the Azure Standard, although Azure Standard is a wonderful thing to have in your repertoire of homesteading. So these can be delivered to your home. And
From
this is an interesting
Amazon.
topic. From Amazon right to your door. And this is an interesting topic because it was brought up in our Facebook group the other day, Beginning Homesteaders Guide. And somebody said, oh my gosh, I'm just going to throw numbers out just to pretend, but they're like, oh my gosh, it's $20 for a number 10 can of the freeze dried bell peppers. And they were saying, and the number 10 can isn't even all the way full. What a ripoff. And somebody said, let's break it down. It takes 70 pounds of bell peppers to make that can. Then you take into account the time and the effort and the amount that you're adding to your electric bill to do all of that freeze drying yourself. I mean, how many pounds of peppers are you going to get for $19? You're not going to get 70 pounds. You may grow them. There's that. But these people that were discussing this, they don't have the availability to grow all of those and then freeze dry them themselves. But for myself, I'd be more than happy to pay $20 for 70 pounds of peppers that have already been dehydrated, that have a shelf life of 10 to 20 years. And when I open them, I can make my meals in a jar with them. And then, the next time there's a sale, I'll buy another can and put it in the pantry to back up. Cayce?
Right.
I'll say for that also, because I saw that kind of discussion in our group,
Back and forth
discussion, is how I look at it too is we sell at a farmer's market here in the very small town where we live. And the people that come into our farmer's market are not necessarily homesteaders themselves, but like the image of it. They're like, oh, how cute, how quaint. So we sell meals in a jar. And that is one of the ways that I can validate to myself, okay, I'll spend this $20 on that because I'm making so many jars. And when I make those jars, let's say I make 8 meals in a jar quarts, I keep 2 for myself. I pay myself in meals in a jar and I sell the other ones that will make that $20 back. And I
And
know
then
that it
some.
will last, and then some, because people will pay. In the South, the lake people, I call them the lake people, the people with money that come into our farmers markets will pay $15 to $20 for a quart jar of freeze dried soup mix that all you have to do is add water. And I'm so bad because I buy it, and most people buy the freeze dried food and they put it into their long term pantry. And I buy it and I've used up my chocolate milk powder in like the first month. So I'm not really making a good return on the chocolate milk powder because I probably drink more chocolate milk than I should because of that.
Well, that's all right. That's all right.
There's an item that Cayce has tried. Well, no, actually, Cayce tried a modified version of this, and then I went a little step further, and I got the black bean burger mix from Augustin Farms, and I bought the number 10 can, and I told my husband, I said, we're going to make a meatloaf out of it. If it's good, great. If not, then we've got a little bit more to throw into some soups or stews or whatever. But if it's good, let's buy some more. And I made a meatloaf out of that, and it was so wonderful that I bought a 4-gallon bucket the next day.
Oh,
And so I'll be able to put that now into my mason jars when I open that bucket. Now it's sealed, and so I don't have to worry about anything getting to it until I finish up the number 10 can. But the black bean burger mix is a really great freeze-dried item to keep in your pantry. And you can do so many things with it, right, Cayce?
That is correct, friend. And you talked me into getting the vegan. I know y'all are thinking, Cayce, you got vegan meat. Yes, I got the vegan meat. And I even tricked the Bougie Meat Bland boys and Abigail into eating it when they came to visit my farm. Now they did say that
Now,
they noticed that it was different.
I was going to
These
say, did
these
they
are
really know?
Yes, they knew. They were my people. These people were not easily tricked. They eat 100% grass-fed beef for a living. That's what they literally, I mean, like, these kids are bougie when it comes to meat because, like, most kids are like, yeah, we don't eat a lot. A lot of people that we know are like, we don't eat a lot of ground beef. And I'm like, my people live on meat. They live on beef and pork, and they eat less chicken probably than most people because we have more access to beef and pork. But I also know that my beef and my pork, exactly what they're fed. So I don't mind giving my kids probably more beef and more pork than other kids or other family members because I know exactly what's in it, not what they put in at the store. But yeah, no, and that's some good stuff. And just FYI, I was looking at the Big Daddy Mac mix and some of that stuff, and that like cost wise too, I was thinking about that, and we do stock up on like mac and cheese and things like that. And I was looking at this, and this is considered dehydrated, just like in general. This is dehydrated milk powder, and the cheese, it's dehydrated stuff. So I guess what they're using it's considered a dehydrated product, but it kind of is a freeze dried product, but it's more of like a mix because it's just the liquid's been taken out of it. So I guess dehydrated, freeze dried, really, there's this like gray area right here. Is there?
Isn't that kind of the same thing, though? I mean,
Well, let me just say from experience, learn from me. Do not try to dehydrate your own cheese.
okay.
It does not end well because the cheese has too much oils in it. It melts through everything, and then it becomes hard as a rock, and it's a mess. Your cheese needs to be freeze dried. Now, what they're doing with that powder as they do that, they have the machines to do it properly. But if you're a homesteader and you've got your little Nesco or Costco, whatever, dehydrator, or whether you have a really nice Excalibur dehydrator like my husband had just bought for me, and my brother brought me 5 pounds of mozzarella cheese.
Ooh.
Don't try to dehydrate it. You will regret it.
Oh no. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I think this is like a mixture of dehydrated, freeze-dried type stuff. But the cool thing about it is, and I was wanting to talk kind of a little bit about maybe trying to move in the dehydrated stuff a little bit, is that this is great to have because if you stock up on pasta like I do, like this time last year, pasta, I feel like pasta was flying off the shelves. And my people, we don't eat a lot of pasta, but I remember going on my little Walmart grocery order and trying to find some angel hair. And I was like, wait, you don't have angel hair pasta? Okay, well, then let's get some rotini. Wait, there's no rotini either? Okay, let me get some shells. Wait, medium shells don't exist anymore. They only have the little baby ones or the big ones. What is this chaos? I mean, immediately I went into that's it. I am buying when I see it. And so now it's just always in my order. It's not even that I necessarily need it. Now, I'm not crazy bulk buying. I'm not buying like 100 pounds of it, but it's in every single order that I place. Even if I place a $20 order, at least one bag of angel hair pasta or one bag of rotini goes into my storage now. And I have 2 bins of pasta because I know that in a bind or in one of those crazy weeknights, I'm pulling out a jar of my already made spaghetti sauce that I've got in my pantry that I've already canned up. And I'm pulling out a jar of spaghetti sauce or a jar of meatballs or a jar of marinara, whatever it is. And my kids can easily make some pasta for dinner. That being said, Kraft mac and cheese or whatever the brand is that you buy, if you have your own macaroni somewhere, which we have a bunch of macaroni always, then your kids can easily make this. They come and it breaks down to about 49 cents an ounce. 49 cents an ounce. So depending on how much you need for your recipe, how much you're making, you can really tailor the size. So, and if there's only you and your husband and your 2 grandkids, maybe you may not need an entire box of Kraft or whatever it is. Or maybe it's just your 1 grandbaby's there because you and your husband are not eating it. You can easily make just enough mac and cheese for your grandbaby to get them through. And that's one of those things that it's a really great solution for that.
How many ounces is that, Monica?
So this is 1 pound. They come in a 1 pound container, and you can add milk and butter.
3 or 4. I've purchased 3 or 4, and I think I've gone through 1. It will last a long time.
Yeah, I purchased 3 back in March of 22, and we are halfway through 1 container. And again, my son uses just a tablespoon maybe to add to his already existing powder. So you'd probably need to use more if you were only using it for the mac and cheese. But it's an option, and it's a great way to kind of have some things separate and kind of know that you can make smaller portions or bigger portions of like the Kraft type of style. So that is something that I feel like is economical too.
You know what it's like? It's like making chocolate chip cookies with margarine or making chocolate chip cookies with butter.
Yeah.
It makes all the difference in the world.
It does make a difference. Cayce, did you have something they wanted to add to the dehydrated?
Well, I wanted to say, especially with the Hoosier Heel company, they have a great sour cream powder too. So you never, us here in the South, if you run out of sour cream, that's just wrong.
Did you like the sour cream powder from them?
Loved it.
Have you tried it?
No, I haven't rehydrated
Okay, because I won't be for real.
You are not a fan. Now, see, I have not rehydrated it to sour cream. I put it in funeral potato meal in a jars.
Okay.
I add it to a cream sauce that I add to like an Alfredo, that kind of stuff. But no, listen, I've done a little powder mixture to make like a sour cream squeeze over tacos, but I've never rehydrated it back into sour cream. So
Monica, it's really good to add just a little bit in that mac and cheese, just a little bit of the sour cream powder.
So we were desperate. We were desperate. And my Ezekiel, my baby, the baby of my family, all like 50 pounds of this little baby. He's 7 years old, but he is a sour creamaholic. So we were having some tacos because that's something we do here on the farm is we eat a lot of tacos. And we were having our little Mexican night. And the 7-year-old was like, Mom, I need sour cream. And I'm like, baby, I think all the sour cream is gone. I think one of your brothers ate it. He was like, Mom, I need sour cream. And I was like, bro, you need to settle down. I was like, oh, I got something. We can use my sour cream powder. And I like ran to the pantry thinking I was the literal genius of the house, ran there, cracked the seal open. I was like, I'm gonna make you some. I got you. So dinner wasn't completely ready yet. He was just coming in for the precursor to dinner, kind of munching around, looking and seeing what we had. And so I was like, I'm going to make you some. I'm going to put it in the fridge. It's going to be so good. You're going to love it. He's like, okay. He's a very trustworthy child. And so I made the sour cream as sour cream, put it in the refrigerator. And I was like, I'm a genius. I have things figured out.
There you go.
It was awful. It was so awful. It was so awful. The 7-year-old was like, Mom, what did you just give me? It was like sour.
It's not a standalone item. I think it's to be used in a recipe. However, I will say the next time you go to the store and you go to the Hispanic aisle, look for the Nestle Crema. It is almost like a little can of
Yes.
milk, like evaporated milk, but it's called crema.
Yeah, we have
And
some.
you chill that. You add a little bit of lemon juice or vinegar. You can turn that into like the traditional Hispanic Mexican food crema that they squeeze over their food. It's a little runnier than the sour cream,
Yeah.
but it's got that flavor.
We didn't have any crema either because we
Yeah, but
usually
that's
keep
a
that.
good option for
We
people
had
to
that
know.
usually. That would have been my go-to for sour cream because I could have tricked him into he would have been fine with that because it would have looked white. He'd have been like, "Why is it running?" I'm like, "It's fine, it's sour cream." And I could have like tricked him into thinking like mind game wise. But when I offered him this like rehydrated sour cream in all of its glory, I was like, la la, and I like offered it to him, and he took a big old like spoonful. He's like, "Yeah," and he smacked it on his taco. No, I ruined his life
Yeah.
that one time.
Way to
And
go, Mom.
It was bad.
And people would have thought it would have been the fakey meat that would have done it, but look at there. Chocolate for the vegetarian.
It was the
It
super
was the
sour
sour
cream.
cream.
Sour cream is a real thing, apparently. It is sour.
Yeah.
Well, let me say, it could just because it's not freeze dry that it is dehydrated, but I wanted to kind of ask everybody as well, what is your favorite way to prep your pantry, whether it is in freezing or canning or dehydrating? What is your go-to that you do? I'm going to start with you, Andale. What is your go-to when you're prepping your pantry? What do you do the most of and why?
The most that I do for preparing food is canning, actually. But that's because I have an electric canner that is so easy, and I have a steam canner that is incredibly easy. So if it's water bath and I use the steam canner, you just put like 2 inches of water in the bottom of it, and you treat it like a water bath canner. And then the electric canner, really seriously turn that thing on and you walk out of the room pretty much. But yes, canning, it would be my main thing. Second would be dehydrating. We only have a refrigerator with a regular freezer on the top. And then we have a second refrigerator on the back porch with a regular size freezer. We don't have any deep freezers. And so freezing is not my top option just because of space. I don't have the space. We are freezing. I've frozen a lot of squash and zucchini already this year, but canning really is my main goal.
And I'm so glad that you said those two. Now, let me just first say that I was peer pressured by my hosts into purchasing a Nesco electric pressure canner. And it was the best purchase ever made in my 36 years of living. When Andale said it is simple, you literally turn it on, you press 2 buttons, okay, just like you would. You do the same thing that any standard pressure can recipe would say. You pressure can it for, let's just say, 40 minutes. You put 40 minutes on, you press start, and that is literally it, y'all. It's so easy. And steam bath, before I pass it over to Monica, I don't think steam bath gets the glory that it should. It is so simple. I steam bath can
It's real easy.
in my Instapot. Like, now, of course, I can't do it when I have a ton to water bath can because
Right.
my Instapot is just not that big. But I'm able to, if I do 5 salsas, I'm able to steam bath can it, and it's just the same. It's a hit it and forget it kind of canning thing. So I'm so glad you said those 2 things. So glad. Monica, go, because I'm gushing now with admiration.
Yeah, they make my life easier.
Okay, so just so you know, the only reason why I bought the electric pressure canner is because I watched Andale can water. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's canning water with what is it? I don't even know why. I literally watched her can water twice. I watched the entire video twice. I was like, she just canned water. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wait, why would she can water? And then I was like, okay, go back. She did it in an electric canner because my stove, my house was built for people who honestly, I don't even know who built this house, but somebody built it in the 90s. They must have been doing something they shouldn't have been doing. They must have been doing recreational illegal drugs when they built this house, because they gave me a little tiny oven that's too small for anybody. They gave me a stovetop that the burners are just old and they don't want to stay to temperature. So I can't do pressure canning on my stovetop. It just doesn't work.
Right.
And I'm not in a position to replace any of this, because the minute I replace one of those items, Eric, in his perfectionist mindset and his, like, it has to be, he's going to say, oh, if we replace this, it needs to be this and this and this and this. And it's going to have to be the whole kitchen. So we're not at that point yet. So we're not replacing anything. So that electric pressure canner was literally a game changer for me, because I went from zero pressure canning, giving everything to my mother-in-law, to me now pressure canning everything I can get my hands on. I'm all like, what? I've got leftover barbecue sauce? Of course I'm going to pressure can it.
Leftover queen.
Literally just canned up 2 pint jars of barbecue sauce. Eric was like, wait, what are you doing with that? Are you going to put it in another container? I'm like, nah, I'm just going to pressure can these 2 real quick. And he's like, what? I'm like, I'm going to can up this barbecue sauce real fast. He was like, okay. I was like, yeah, I'm going to throw some meat in this one. I'm just going to, I'm going to go do that. I mean, like, I was literally just canning leftovers this weekend as I was finishing my night up, because that is a game changer. So,
well, it's so easy. I mean, I don't mean to interrupt.
No,
but
you're good.
It's so easy. And it is a situation where if you have one jar, you can still use it for one jar. And you don't have to put other jars in there filled up and all of that. You just put it in there, the one jar or 2. Or if I make extra, I've gotten to the point now where I try to make extra spaghetti sauce or extra soup or extra roast with potatoes and so forth that I can put in the canner, to be able to have a ready meal. That's my ready meals.
Have you ever canned the potatoes with the roast?
I have. I mean, they're kind of mushy.
So I did that, and my kids were laughing at me because the potatoes sunk down, like the mashed potatoes kind of sunk into my roast. Oh. And so I put canned mashed potatoes like on top of the roast beef. So I put roast beef on the bottom. I put some seasoning in it, and then I put about, like, I don't know, in an inch or so of the potatoes on the top. And I canned it. Well, by the time they were canned, I canned few cans of just roast beef. It was roast beef. It was like 3 cans of regular roast beef, and 2 of them out of the 5 little pints I did 2 of them with the mashed potatoes in it. And my kids were like, what in the goodness gracious are you doing? And I'm like, I'm going to try something. If it doesn't seal, who cares? I'll just put it in the fridge and I'll eat it for lunch tomorrow. Right. Well, they sealed, and I let it sit for like a month. And then I came back a month later, and let me just tell you, I want to say I was on a live, or I was doing something, and I was watching YouTube, and I was sitting there. I cracked the seal on one of these, and I just took my spoon, and my children were eating some sort of leftovers that I didn't want. So I went in there and grabbed a jar that I knew I could get out, and it was roast beef and mashed potatoes with the thin. I didn't put any cornstarch in the gravy. It was just like a thin gravy, and I just mixed it all up, because it's all going down the same tube. I mixed it all up. I didn't care. It was the most delicious meal in a jar, literally. At that point, I was like, I can do anything I want to do.
I hadn't considered mashed potatoes. It's been like a roast with carrots and potatoes and things like that.
I did mashed potatoes in the jar. It was a game changer. My kids thought I was a nut job, but it still came out good. Now, I don't know. I haven't left it more than a month, because immediately the next day I told Eric about it, and he was like, oh, that's awesome. And I'm like, yeah, I'm already going to eat the second one. He was like, oh, great. But
sounds delicious.
At that point, I felt like I could conquer the universe. But you're right, that canner is a game changer for a lot of people, because I have not wasted some of the produce that normally would be wasted this season, such as the green beans. I haven't brought enough noodle beans in, the purple noodle beans, the Chinese noodle beans. I haven't brought in enough to do massive amounts if I had to use my oven or my stovetop. But to be able to do 2 quart jars instead of 5 or 7, to do 2 quart jars, and then basically flip that little switch after it hits E10, I flip it to the close button, and now I'm done. I can walk away and I can feasibly go to bed if I want to. So
that's what I was going to say.
Is a game changer.
Set it and go to bed.
Yeah. Once it hits the pressure that I need, and I flip that little dial to the closed, the sealed button, I'm done. and
Yeah.
I can literally leave it alone. I wait that last 10 minutes. I'm brushing my teeth, ready for that thing to be done. I flip it and I'm done for the night. It has been a game changer for me because I have had a lot less waste that
Right.
way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, and
It's been
Dale, do you
wonderful.
eat beans? Like,
I do.
oh, I watched this one video where this woman in her electric pressure canner canned dried beans. It was so
Dried beans?
easy. So literally dried beans in a pint jar. I put a half a cup of dried beans, fill
And water.
room temperature water up to an inch headspace, lid, ring, just like you would normally do. Stay with me because it's still the dried beans. I put it in that
Okay.
Nesco for I think it's, Alicia, dried beans. I don't want to say the time
Well,
on here because I'll say it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you come out, it is just like buying a canned from the store of beans. They're ready to go. They're cooked. It's easy. When I'm wanting to do something canned, I get 4 pints of black beans canned and it's done. And I got 4 cans now.
gosh.
And you just pop it out and you could use it in tacos. And I've even
Yeah.
done, Cayce over at Boots and Bounty did a video on baked beans from dried beans. It's a game changer.
Beans, Fiesta beans, pinto beans, black beans. That's what I've done.
Are you not supposed to do beans dried? Just add water in your can. Like, is that not a normal thing? Because I've never canned beans on my own. Never ever. Even to right now, I've never
You
canned
get
beans.
the certain
But my
people that
friend-
say that it's rebel-ish that you don't cook your beans before.
It's rebellish because you're supposed to. I think where the confusion here is they're dry beans, but you're not soaking them. These are
Oh.
a no soak bean where you don't soak them. You can rinse them, look for the little pebbles and stuff, and then scoop your beans into the jar, fill it with water, throw in like little, quarter teaspoon of salt, and can them. You're not having to soak them.
Mexican
And it
seasoning
is
too.
a
It's
bit of-
easy, simple.
yeah, it's so good.
So it's
simple.
considered rebel if you are it's not considered like a good thing to do if you don't soak them first. Is that what I'm
Correct.
understanding?
Correct.
Monica,
because of the
everything me and
density of the
Alicia do
beans.
is rebel.
But I've not had a problem. And there are plenty of experienced canners
Okay.
that do this without a problem.
Because, see, my friend came over last year after I got my canner. She was so excited. She's like, girl, I need to use this. And I'm like, we're going to try it together. She hadn't bought hers yet. And so this is maybe 2 years ago now. And she's like, I need to try it. So she brought over some meat. She brought over a bunch of beans and she made some sort of like basically bean soup. She was just throwing stuff into a jar. We were putting seasonings in and she put just dried beans in. She was like putting a cup of beans in and we made 3 quart jars. Actually, we did 4 because we could fit 4 into my canner, and we pressure canned it because it had meat in it. So we did it for absorbed amount of time, and they came out great. We didn't no siphoning, no nothing. And she was like, "Awesome! Now I have quart jars of bean soup." And it was more than just beans though. There was like other meat and stuff in it. So we canned it for a really long time, and everything looked good. And she tried it later. She was like, "Monica, this bean soup was amazing." And I'm like, "Yay, awesome!" I had no idea we weren't supposed to do it like that. Like I didn't know it wasn't a thing.
Right. I
people
mean,
did.
the science of it is when you put your beans in and they're going to swell as they're being canned, you don't get the density of the heat into the center of the jar.
Oh,
And so there is of the belief that you are then subjecting yourself to some issues.
Yeah.
However, if you do your measurements correctly, if you're not going to overpack with beans, I mean, it's a quarter cup for a pint jar. And I believe I might be off. I don't want to say too much.
No, half.
There's one
Half a
measurement,
cup.
half for pint, a cup for quarts, and then you do your
Correct.
everything else. But if you do more than that, you're going to run out of room real quick, and you'll find that out. And so then you don't have the availability for that heat to get through to the center of the beans. When you soak the beans, and then the beans are soft, and then you can them, you have the cook all the way through the bean.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the less chance of having something go, quote, quote, wrong. However, you're cooking them long enough. You're not overpacking. You're getting a good thing, a good cook on it when it's doing that. And as you've seen, all 4 of us with our Nesco, when you're done and you release that lid and you take the stuff out, that stuff's bubbling for hours. It is cooking.
Yep.
And
Right.
then the thing is too, is you're going to take those beans out and you're going to cook them when you heat them up for your meals. So chances are very, very slim. Just, you have some canners who have to do everything, and this is not a knock against them. They have to do everything 100% by the book. Anything less than is considered rebel and they don't want anything to do with it. But then you have some, hand goes in the air here, that will do the beans, that does the steam canning, that does other things that people might not consider to be, quote unquote, the kosher way to do it. I'm fine with
Right.
that.
But it's so funny because you mentioned the steam bath canning, and did you know, Andale, with steam bath, like when I mentioned it on one of my lives, I got some of the people that were like, "Oh my God, why are you steam bath canning? That's so not approved." I'm like, are we?
Oh, it is, but it is.
I'm like, are we for real right now? Like, steam bath canning
Yeah.
is a thing. It really is a thing. Like, it's not something
Yeah.
somebody just who was lazy decided, okay, let me steam bath can in my Instapot because I don't want to pull out the big canner. It is a thing. And
Right.
let me just say, when we're talking about canning, all of the stuff that we talk about is our opinion. Okay. When canning for
Absolutely.
your family, you need to do your research and your studying and find recipes that you feel comfortable to do for you and your family.
Absolutely.
Me and Alicia have done the beans, and we fed them to our family, and both of us are still here to nibble another day. So again, I just wanted to make that disclaimer because I know we will get comments because canning is a very sensitive topic, and
It
people
is.
usually want to throw down for the throwdown for canning. Alicia, did you want to say something to that?
I was going to say, I think one of the main important things if you're getting new into canning, you have to know what it's okay to water bath and what absolutely must be pressure canned. You can't just water bath green beans. You're going to get your family sick. You have to pressure can certain things. So that's the first thing is make sure you know what method you need absolutely 100% to use. Having said that, we're talking about all these things in the pantry. One important thing that I just really want to put out to all of our listeners is, again, it doesn't matter if you live in an apartment, if you live in suburbia, if you're out on a little bit of an acreage or on a bigger farm, whatever you put in your pantry, make sure that you diversify, make sure you do your research and your homework, and only put in your pantry what you know you're going to eat. And like I said before, diversify it. Put some things in your 5-gallon buckets with your gamma lids. Put some things in your food saver freeze bags. Put some things in the freezer. Put some things in your canners and get all those canned goods up on the counter, up on your shelves. It's okay to have canned goods from the store. We're not saying that you have to be 100%,
Absolutely.
homestead or homey there. But diversify. Make sure it's easy. Make sure it's accessible. Make sure that you plan for those moments like what we talked about in the last episode where if you don't have power, let's say you do have a bunch of canned goods. How are you going to open them without your electric can opener? Make sure you've got those little can openers, the manual ones available. Make sure you've got candles in your pantry set aside somewhere in case you don't have electricity. All these little things that you need to think about. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to have a big, huge pantry and use a lot of space. We just ask that you think outside the box and think about what you need to put together for your family in your time of need. Monica?
Right.
So we were talking about the different items you can and things like that. And I think a lot of us choose to can for our pantry. That's one of the things that we all have kind of agreed on. And I guess we've all kind of done so much of. And, Cayce definitely loves his freeze dried stuff. One of the things that we do, Anne mentioned she has a small freezer. And she doesn't have a real big one. We have a lot of meat in our freezer, but our freezers tend to get overloaded. And it seems that we've had issues with them going down. What happens if you lose power? One of the things we do is we really do choose to can our meat. And a lot of people don't necessarily love that, but we do can our meat. One more thing that I add, and I'm really happy that I've been adding it to my pantry this year that a lot of people don't do or maybe aren't fortunate enough to have the option to do is I've water glassed my eggs. Now we water glassed our eggs last year. I did it 2 years ago and lost a ton of eggs because I tried to do it in a very large commodity. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm an expert. I can do this. I grow my own ducks and chickens. I can totally. So I use a 5-gallon bucket to water glass. Now, we did it that way, and I was doing great for a while. But the minute one of your eggs burst in a water glass container, you lose almost everything in there. You pretty much lose everything. So I have been water glassing in smaller gallon containers, the pickle jars or the half-gallon mason jars. Half-gallon mason jars is what I've been using particularly lately. I do have some 1-gallon jars I just recently purchased, but I'm doing that so that I can see now clearly through there. I check my jars, I rotate them, and I can see those eggs, how fresh they are, and if I need to use them prior to. Water glassing eggs have been a huge deal. And I know, Anne, you just got chickens. So now is the time
Welcome.
now is the time to water glass those eggs and get them put in there, because with Eric not eating chicken eggs, only eating duck eggs, it's not like I can just go out in the Christmas time and holiday seasons and be like, hold on, Eric, I'm going to go buy a dozen eggs at the grocery store.
Right.
I can't. So I have to go to my own stock supply of duck eggs and know that I can still make holiday cookies or other things with those eggs. Otherwise, I'm looking for alternatives to not eating eggs at all, which we can do.
Do you have a video on water glassing?
I don't think I actually have a video on water glassing right now, even though I have a bunch of water glassed eggs in there, but I don't have a video on that.
May I suggest you make one?
I should.
But there is something that I did want to share when it comes around to storing for our pantry. And you mentioned canning meat. I love canned meat, quite frankly. And
Same.
Yeah. And so, like, Thanksgiving and Christmas, there's usually sales on turkeys, and you can get a 20-pound turkey for $4 because it's 10 cents a pound or something, 15 cents a pound. And so we buy several, and we don't put them in the freezer. We cut them up and you raw pack them, and it makes great canned meat. To be able to, anytime that there is anything special, 4th of July usually has specials on burgers or steaks, or I haven't ever done a steak. I've done hamburger and I've done turkey and I've done chicken. But, I think that's a great idea for people to be aware of sales that are out there, to be able to put them under the glass, to save us all some money.
I like to get the cranberries on sale after Thanksgiving when they're 25 cents or 50 cents a bag, and make my own cranberry fruit blend juices.
Okay.
So cran raspberry, cran apple, cran grape, whatever you want to come up with. Those are the sales I watch for, because then I have cranberry juice, which is, good for your bladder health. Got that all year long. I could, if I'm not feeling all that great, I'll just go pop a can of cranberry juice, and I will strain out the fruit, drink my juice, and then I put the fruit in a batch of muffins.
Oh,
you could take that cranberry juice and add it to some bubbly water, some sparkling water, and make yourself a sweet little drink.
Back to the
Absolutely.
soda stream. Now, I want to say also what Andale was saying about the turkeys on sale. Leftovers. Now, I'm not the leftover queen like Monica, but during Thanksgiving, when you have all this leftover turkey and you're turkeyed out from turkey sandwiches and turkey and eggs and all of that, I have done a turkey stew that I can. That is so amazing. But raw pack canning chicken is, now I will say, it does not look the prettiest, y'all. Don't think it's going to be like, it's going to be the most beautiful thing. But it is just like buying those canned tuna and canned chicken at the stores to make you some chicken salad when you want to make some chicken salad, or pull it out and heat it up with taco seasoning for some shredded chicken tacos or turkey tacos.
Or chicken pot pie.
But my question to all of y'all is, if the power goes out and we have, let's say all of us were stocked up in our freezers of meat, okay? Power goes out. How long do you have from that frozen meat to get it canned before it goes back? Before it goes bad,
I don't have to worry about that, so I'm sitting out on this one.
I don't know. I don't know exactly how long. I would assume, when it's thawed out, that you have to do something with it. You certainly want to get it while it's still cold. And so I'm not sure when you have to can it. I mean, we'd have to have a bunch of cookouts.
So, but really, I looked it up online because I always wanted to be prepared. And Monica's having some technical issues, but hopefully we'll pop back in here right before we sign out. But it is 48 hours. So 48 hours from electricity going down to meat being bad. You have 48 hours to get that meat into a jar and can it. And because I wanted to have, we talked about on one of our other episodes, you want to have kind of like plans, like you have a tornado plan, you have a flood plan. You should have a no electricity plan for all of the stuff that's in the freezers. Now, Ann Dale said you don't have a lot of the freezers, but like me and Monica that have multiple deep freezers full of meat, you got to have a plan or you're losing a lot of money. And when I say a lot of money, a lot.
The number one mistake to make is to open the freezer to see how everything's doing. Keep it closed. Don't keep popping it open to say, oh my gosh, is it melting? I'm going to close it again. Come back in an hour. Oh my gosh, how's everything doing? Don't open your freezers to check on your stuff. Keep it closed.
Now, you do know about the cup of ice that, like if you leave your home and your electricity goes out, if you have already frozen water in a cup and you put a coin on the top of the ice, then you stick that in your freezer. And when you come back, if that coin has dropped down, then you'll know that the electricity has been off for a certain period of time. Because by the time you come back home, your electricity could be back on and all of your things could have refrozen, but could have refrozen spoiled. So you want to make sure that you have that cup of ice and a coin on top of it so that you can see how deep that coin goes in the ice. We have one of those, but
one of the reasons why I've been trying to put so much stuff into my jars and get them into my pantry is because, one, it's convenient for my family. It's really convenient when the little kids are looking for something in a hurry. It's really convenient when the teenagers are wanting to help with dinner and I'm able to say, hey, go grab, the taco meat or go grab the spaghetti jars or whatever it is,
right,
and go ahead and do that. But my main reason is because I have hundreds and hundreds of dollars of meat in my freezers. And if everything happens where the grid shuts down, and my father-in-law has several generators where we've already discussed we can keep it going for X amount of time.
Right.
That will give me X amount of time to continue to preserve the meat, canning it, getting it into canners. We have, between my mother-in-law and I, we have several canners that we can use off grid or with generators. So we know we would have a plan in place. But let me just tell you, that is a scary scenario for me because I know there will be a lot of meat we would have to be cooking. And I would be passing out meat to my neighbors because we have such huge quantities because we do sell it as well as we provide for many of us. But with a lot of mouths to feed, it's something that I always like to keep stock full of stuff. But yeah, we'd be enjoying a lot of bacon, sausage, steaks, and ground beef because that's,
Yeah.
And even though it's a scary concept for you, Monica, the important thing is you've thought about it.
Yeah.
You've got your plan in place. The wheels are turning. You know what to do if you ever face that. So even though it's scary, you do have that assuredness that you are prepared in that section of your pantry. And we hope that bringing this episode to you, our last two episodes actually with Ann Dale, has provided you with a little bit of support and inspiration and knowledge on how to better put together your pantries so you feel a little more prepared, so you're not having that little bit of anxiety should your power go down, should you find yourself in a natural disaster, or should you find yourself in a time of unrest where maybe you can't make it to the store. It is a wonderful feeling to have. So, Ann Dale, we want to thank you so much for joining us with these last two episodes, talking all things about pantry. We do hope that you'll join us again.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's been a wonderful time.
We absolutely loved having you. So make sure that you tune in again. We're taking this whole Season 4 unscripted. Who knows what's coming up on the next episode? We hope that you'll tune in and share these episodes with your friends as well. Yes. So also, we want you to know that when we drop our podcast on Monday mornings, you can come on over to YouTube and also to Facebook, and we're going to be having a Hey Y'all Hey Tuesday morning talk show where we talk about that podcast that dropped the day before. So join us on YouTube, on our Round the Hay Bale channel, and also on Facebook for our Beginner's Homesteading Guide. So until we see you again on our next episode, thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to take care of yourself, take care of each other, and have a blessed day. Bye-bye.